Welcome to the second part of the session, which will be devoted to the EU rules on driving and resting times. First, a representative from the European Commission will give a short overview of the main rules, followed by a question and answer session where you will be able to ask questions related to the enforcement of these rules at the national level in participating 5 member states. I would like to invite Ms. Lana TOMIC from DG Move to give an overview of the main EU rules on driving and resting times. So Lana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So the objective of this presentation will be to explain the new rules as introduced by the regulation 12/20/1054, and then in the end I will also mention something about the safe and secure parking areas, as it also refers to this issue. So I think we can start with the first slide. Yes, so as I said, we will be focusing on the new rules, so introduced by the regulation 12/20/1054, which started applying as of 20th of August 2020. So now it has been over 2 years. The reference document here is, again, a guidance note issued by the Commission and available in all languages on our website. So there are Q&As on the implementation of Mobility Package 1. This is for the regulation 561/2006. So this is a reference document. And then there were new guidance notes about the new rules issued on these new rules from the regulation 2020/1054. Next slide, please. So I think here first I will mention something about the scope, then other most important, most interesting provisions, most asked for, which are regular return of the driver, ban to take the rest in the cabin, possibility to have 2 consecutive reduced vehicle rest, exceptional exceeding driving time, and the new smart tachograph 2 and border crossing. Next slide, please. So in the scope, what are the new exceptions and LCVs? General scope of the regulation 561/2006, which initially defines the driving and resting times, is that carriage of goods by vehicles exceeding 3.5 tons and carriage of passenger and vehicles of 9+ persons, including the driver. From 1st of July 2026, vehicles of more than 2.5 tons involved in international transport for hire and reward will also fall in the scope of the regulation 561, as well as commercial vehicles. Next slide, please. When it comes to the topic of the return of the driver, so the Article 8A of the regulation 561/2006 has been amended so that the objective of the rule is that to improve working conditions of drivers by spending longer rest at home and to fight against nomadic driving. Obligation for operators is to organize work of drivers in a way that they are able to go back home at least every 4 weeks or 3 weeks in case of 2 consecutive reduced rests. When it comes to the places of return, employer's operational center where the driver is normally based or driver's place of residence are considered the normal places of return, and it's the driver who can make the choice about which one out of the 2 it's going to be. When it comes to the evidence, transport undertakings shall use tachograph records, duty rosters of the drivers, or other documentation to prove compliance, and the evidence must be kept at the premises of the undertaking. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the rest outside the cabin, so Article 8.8 of the regulation 561 has been amended so as that it bans the regular vehicle rest in the cabin of the truck. So in terms of here, not much has been new, but cost of accommodation has to be covered by the employer. And when it comes to the burden of proof on control authorities, there is no obligation for drivers to present proofs, such as hotel bills. So the burden of proof is on control authorities. So hotel bills, once again, cannot be asked for to the driver. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the reduced weekly rest, which is determined by the Article 86b of the Regulation 561, there is flexibility for weekly rest, which means that driver can take 2 consecutive reduced weekly rests subject to conditions. But this is only for drivers engaged in international freight transport. The 2 consecutive reduced rest periods must be taken outside of the member states of establishment and member state of the driver's place of residence. And the 2 compensations must be taken en bloc and attached to the obligatory regular weekly rest, following the 2 consecutive reduced weekly rest. And now there is a derogation, next slide please, for exceptional circumstances. So this is determined in Article 12.2 and 3 of the Regulation 561. And these are the possibility to exceed daily and weekly driving time by 1 hour if a driver is to reach home for a weekly rest, and the possibility to exceed daily and weekly driving time by 2 hours if a driver is to reach home for a regular weekly rest. But the driver must take a 30-minute break before additional driving time. So the conditions to be met here is that this is about an exceptional situation, that rest period is not reduced, and that the extension by additional rest attached to other rest period within 3 weeks is compensated. Next slide, please. So as we know, these new rules are also about tachograph. So the timeline in terms of the for the smart tachograph 2, implementing Act on smart tachograph as version 2 is 12 months after entry into force, which is 21st of August 2021. Smart tachograph version 2 for new vehicles has to be 2 years after implementing Act, which will be issued on 21st of August 2023. Retrofit analog and digital tachographs 3 years after end of the year of implementing Act, which is December 2024. Retrofit smart tachograph 1 4 years after the implementing Act, so this will be around 2025. And smart tachograph version 2 for LCVs, this would be for 1st of July 2026. There is also the obligation to equip control authorities with early detection equipment to an appropriate extent by 21st of August of 2024. And another obligation for drivers with analog tachographs to record manually border crossings as of 20th of August 2020. Next slide, please. And now, when it comes to the safe and secure parking areas, so by the Delegated Regulation 2020/1012, issued by the Commission, there have been EU standards and certification procedures created for safe and secure truck parking areas. Funding of new safe and secure truck parking areas and upgrade of existing parking without the necessary facilities will be done via safe transport funding. So there is 250 million available for the current call. And the importance of having reference to the EU standards, it's very important to have the reference to the EU standards, and this includes 4 different levels of security, 1 common level of services, and mandatory certification by an external auditor.